how do you convert them from insurance to cash? Because like they're already coming in like not wanting to pay, right? Or pay very little, right?
So there's always going to be people that tell you no. We convert around 65 to 70% of leads that we get on the phone with.
So welcome everyone to the Clinic Boss Show. Today we got Ben, Ben Bagge. Did I get this right? Ben Bagge, right?
Boggy.
Bagge, Ben
Yeah, you're good.
Bagge,
Yeah.
PT. He's a PT. He's the owner of Pro+Kinetix of Physical Therapy, 3 clinics in California, and he also coaches different like owners who want to start a cash-based practice, right? So yeah, welcome to the show, Ben.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. Thanks for having me. No,
Sorry
too.
for, so,
It's fun to be on
so-
this.
so-
So.
sorry for butchering your name.
Oh, you're good. Everybody does. I get to the point where I don't even correct. Like, it doesn't bother me. So I don't even, like, most of the time I don't even correct people. So you're good.
How do most people like pronounce it? Like the way I do, or
But
like,
that's probably the most common way.
oh, gee,
People also get it real fancy with it. And they're like
yeah,
Baget, like I'm French or something.
Baje.
So
Yeah.
I do kind of like that one. But yeah. So,
I'm gonna have an excuse. English is my like second language, right?
there
So
we go.
that's
You
why I
got it.
butchered
Yeah, you got it.
it.
You got it.
Hey, I'm curious. So you're inside the clinic cell community, and I'm curious, how did you hear about it, or how did we first meet?
Yeah, I think it was actually when I was in physical therapy school, Rick. I was thinking I think it was the second year, and I just got done with an outpatient clinical rotation, and it was super high volume, super high
Okay.
volume. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if
Yeah.
I was like honestly thinking about dropping out of PT school and go a different route. But I was like, shit, I worked so hard to get into PT school. I need to see this through. Let's see if there's
Yeah.
something like another route that I can go. And I stumbled across like cash-based PT.
Okay.
And then I started just listening and consuming a lot of content and different podcasts.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I stumbled across you, Rick, on the private practice side of things. So I'd been
Okay.
on you for a while, yeah, I think I just followed you on Instagram, and yeah, I'm not really sure, but
Okay.
just kind of randomly interacting here and
Yeah.
there over the last like 5 years, I think, and then Call Hero as well, and
Okay.
a lot of just random things. So
Wow, total random. Or maybe you listened to one of the podcasts years ago I did with like Aaron. I used to be on Aaron LeBauer's like podcast all the time.
yeah,
Used
yep,
to. I think we did a live one at PPS one year in Vegas or something, right? So
yeah, yeah, could have been that. So, but yeah, I just kind of immersed myself in the private practice, the kind of leaders in
cool,
private practice and PT school, and then upon graduation, and I know you were part of that for sure. So.
cool. So tell me about your practice. Like, how big is your team? And is it 100% cash, or you do a bit of out of network as well?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, we're 100% cash. We don't take insurance or anything like that. We don't bill out a network, completely cash
Yeah.
based. We give people a super bill that they can submit to their insurance if they decide to. We in Oakland, California. That's the first location I opened. We have 5 full-time PTs and a personal
Okay.
trainer, and then 2 front desk staff. Um, Des Moines, we have 2 physical therapists, and then in San Diego, we have 2 physical therapists as well. So Oakland's by and large our largest. Was that add to? Yeah,
Wow.
close to like 10 to 15 employees, somewhere around there.
And it sounds like it was very intentional when you started your practice. It was cash. It wasn't. It's not like you transitioned from in a network to out of network to cash, or was it?
No, it's very deliberate. I knew I wanted to do cash. I knew I didn't want
Okay.
to deal with insurance, and just wanted to go that route. So yeah, it's very deliberate. I knew right from the get go that I wanted to do the cash route.
Yeah. And what would you say is like kind of biggest um the biggest changes like that are happening like in the US with like, insurance that's making you like make this these big moves, right?
Yeah, I just saw look at the trend, like year over year, reimbursement rates are going lower and lower, and you've got inflation that's
Yeah.
out of control. So you've got two big issues. You're going one in the wrong direction on both ends, right? Yes, it's like
Ah,
so
it's
that's why
converging.
exactly. So it's
It's
like
converging to zero.
so that's I just kind of saw the writing on the wall. I'm like, this isn't going in
Yeah.
the right trend. And since I opened my
Yeah.
practice 5 years ago, that trend is exactly continued on that same trajectory as it had the five
Yeah.
years prior. So who knows when it's going
Yeah.
to stop? And I just didn't want to be more at the mercy of insurance companies and the
Yeah.
success. based on
Yeah,
that.
this insurance reimbursement or these insurance reimbursement like threats is happening right across the world, right? We're seeing this like, up north, like in Australia as well, with certain fee codes not be able to bill now as well, right? So you can't, like, anyways, I'm not gonna get into it because it's a whole can of worms, but it is something that like it is like a global trend that's happening, right? Which kind of sucks, right?
Yeah, I'm really interested to see when, like, what's the breaking point when it comes to it. There's a lot of clinics in the US that are becoming hybrid. I don't know very
Yeah,
many clinics that accept almost all insurances anymore.
yeah,
There's more and more clinics are dropping, different insurance companies. United Healthcare
yeah,
is the main one that a lot of people are dropping. So yeah, there's more and more clinics becoming hybrid. They might not be 100% cash, but we're seeing the
yeah.
US a lot more becoming hybrid, if nothing else.
Yeah, so hybrid is a combination of out of network and cash, right?
Yep. Yep. They might
Yeah,
take like a handful of insurances, but they
yeah,
don't take like lower reimbursing ones or the ones that are dying care and stuff like that. And then they charge those patients cash if they want to be seen by them.
so maybe help me dumb this down. How would you explain cash, out of network, in network, and all the different like buckets would make it what makes it very complicated for someone who doesn't understand the industry. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing that's been very awesome to see is, especially in the state of California, is people are becoming more and more aware of what cash-based is and out of network. But I guess the way that I would dumb it down is if you're in network, you are contracted with, and you can correct me on this too, Rick, probably more better than I do. So, but in network, you're contracted with insurance companies. You have to abide by their rules, and you're in network with them. Out of network, you may be able to, you don't directly take their insurance, but you can bill on behalf of the patient to that insurance company, and they can tap into their out-of-network benefits. Cash-based, they pay at the time of the service, and then what we do is we give them a special receipt. It's called a super bill that has all the information like our tax ID number, CPT codes, all the information that they need to submit to their insurance. And then the insurance company, based on their benefits, will reimburse them a certain amount based on their benefits and their
yeah,
out-of-network.
yeah.
How I can explain it, but what are your
And
thoughts on it?
and what would you say the benefits of each are?
Yep. Benefits from, well, I guess from a patient perspective or a clinician or clinic.
Maybe both.
Yeah.
Actually,
Um,
no. Let's do it from a clinic standpoint. Forget the
clinic,
patient.
yeah, clinic standpoint. Uh, clinic standpoint, the case for in-network is you are going to be able to treat a vast majority of patient populations and be able to essentially help everyone. When you are cash-based or out-of-network, you're going to be unable to maybe help more of the underserved population directly. However, I will talk about how you can also do that in a cash-based setting as well and what we do. But across the board, you're just going to have a higher pool of people that you're actually going to be able to help by taking in their insurance.
Yeah.
Your
And the
mark,
prices are fixed too, right? Like, the in-network, like there's a set amount of price, and those prices, depending on what state, is either going lower every single month or is just staying flat, right?
right? Exactly. So those are
Yeah,
fixed. Those are fixed
yeah,
and it's more affordable. I'll use
yeah,
that in quotations. Or on paper, it seems more affordable uh, for patients, but I guess we're not talking about the patient perspective. But from a clinician standpoint, your marketing, I feel like your marketing, your sales do not have to be as air. You still need to have good marketing and sales in a network clinic, but in a cash-based setting, it has to be at even a higher level because people are paying out of pocket. You have to be able to communicate on the phone when somebody's inquiring, like, what is the difference? Why would
yeah,
I forego using my insurance to work with you guys? So you
yeah,
have to be able to position and communicate that.
yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but out of network, you could charge whatever prices you want to, no?
Yep. Yeah, we charge between 225 to 275 per visit.
Yeah,
And so you consider rates. Next week I could change, hey, I want to change it to 155 to
yeah,
2. I can
yeah.
really dictate whatever we want.
But you could also do that for out of network as well, right?
I believe so. Yep, you can do that
Yeah,
for out of network as well. And then it's mainly the difference between out of network and cash based is out of network, you're kind of doing the billing on behalf. You're still submitting those claims on behalf of the patient for them to get reimbursement. We don't
okay. So the
in
only extra layer is the admin side of like them doing it, right?
more or less, from my understanding. I've never done out of network. I've just always been
Yeah,
on base side. So there's more nuances than just that. But from my understanding, that's kind of the main difference between network and cash based.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if you were to like from what you like, why not do the hybrid where you do a bit of both so you could open up your marketing funnel and actually see more patients, right?
And that's the benefit too of being in network is you do have a wider net that you can cast, but in my opinion, it's going to be a little bit less profitable. So in my opinion,
Yeah.
you have to have a very strong, if you accept insurance that reimburses really low,
Yeah.
even you pretty much you need to have a great back end product. Maybe
Yeah.
that's enrolling them into massage therapy services
Yeah.
or having them do personal training on the back end. Chiropractic
Yeah.
care, you have to have some of these other services on the back end to make up for that. But that's what is initially getting those people in the door that they otherwise want to come in through the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Interesting. And so, like what would you say is like the average revenue like per year of a typical cash practice, right?
it's very, very, you're going to get all over the place. You got some
Couple
people.
100,000, right?
Yeah, I would say probably, especially because cash based hasn't been around.
Yeah.
It's a newer thing. Like in the last 10 years, it's really taken off. Um, we do about $2 million per year. I would
Yeah.
say that probably the average clinic is mainly like, I would say most of them are like just mom and pop shops where they're solo practitioners. Like they
Yeah.
started the business and they don't really have anybody else working for them. So
Yeah.
they might be around that like 100 to 150,000
Yeah.
mark with it. But then obviously you can grow and scale like any business and bring on employees and stuff like that and increase that.
Yeah.
But I would it's probably around 100, 150,000.
Yeah. So in essence, they're really just finding a job for themselves, are they not?
Yep, exactly. Yep, they just
Yeah.
pretty much yeah, just created a job for themselves and yeah, it's a tough. I don't know about you, but I think it's a tough spot to be. People like, oh, I just want to have a lifestyle business. I don't want to have employees. I want to, see patients 3 days per week and treat,
Yeah.
15 patients a week. And I'm like, and they think, oh, I'm just gonna have to work 20 hours because I'm just seeing 20 hours of patients. No, you got to call patients, you got to reschedule patients, you got to do the marketing, you got to do the sales, you got to do taxes, you got to do all.
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
just 20 hours of patient care. You can be still working way more than
Because
just.
this thing I struggle with is like, I speak with all these different like cash-based practices, and like it's incredible that your clinic is like doing like 2 million, but most of them are small, right? Most of them do a couple 100,000, right? They might rent a space like here, and yes, like there's the min work, but at the end of the day, is that you're right, it's a bit of a lifestyle practice, but they're not pulling a lot of cash in, right?
I think it's funny.
And and they're still standing on mountains of student loans, their inflation wages and all that other stuff. But yeah, what's kind of your thoughts about that?
I think it's funny because I hear this all the time, like, oh, I just want a lifestyle. Well, a lifestyle business. I'm like, well, I remember when I was at that stage, it was not much of a lifestyle. I was working 60 hours a week, doing all this stuff. Like, this is not, there was nothing lifestyle about it.
Yeah.
And so I really preach that if you do want to really start a business, you need to actually have a business and not just create a job for yourself because it's a tough spot to be when you're doing everything on your own. So
Yeah. And would you say that 80 or 90% of the people who have cash-based practice are in that category?
I would say so. There's more and more
Okay.
people that are scaling and whatnot,
Okay.
but because cash based is a newer thing, there just takes time to scale. But we are seeing more and more people wanting
Yeah.
and actually growing cash based practices. But because it's in the newer stages, you're just gonna have a little bit more people at that earlier stage. But there's a lot. I would say there's a much higher percentage of people that in the cash based world that start a practice that stick with just being themselves than somebody that starts an insurance based clinic. Usually, if you start an
Yeah.
insurance you're actually more apt to grow and scale and have that mentality to grow and scale.
Yeah. And what would you say is the biggest like, cash practice that you've seen like in a single location,
In a single location, mine, but in Oakland, uh,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's real, but
Okay.
it's Oakland, our Oakland location.
Okay.
That does almost 1.5
Okay.
mil. That's the largest I've come across.
Yeah.
From my knowledge, there could be maybe other clinics out there that are doing more, but I haven't come across it. So
That's interesting. And so, um, you know, is there any chains, right? Like the ones that own like maybe 5, 10, or 20, 30 clinics that have something like that? You're talking like, they got 20 of these clinics or 30 of the clinics, and each of them are doing like a million, million and a half. Does that even exist?
it doesn't. Not
And
right
why is
now.
that?
I'm not sure. I think it's I'm not really sure why it doesn't exist. I think one, again, it kind of goes back to just being newer. And also I think the mentality of the average person that starts a cash-based practice doesn't have that mentality to do it and to franchise. But yeah, from my knowledge, there's nobody out there that's done it, Rick.
Yeah. It's interesting, man, because when every time I go to like, PPS, or I go to these like big big events in the US, and I'm talking to all these owners that own like 20, 30 locations, or even the CEOs of some of these, like, the ones that own like, like 500, 600 locations, right? When I talk about cash, what do you think the reaction is?
I mean, they're probably thinking it's one thinking too small on it, and there's like they look at
Yes. Yeah, like they're like, what makes up like that 2% or that 3%, right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know. Um, and but I'm just like, anyways, but then when I hear about like what you're doing, I was like, why hasn't everyone figured out how to scale, you know, these to a dozen or a couple of dozen of these type of clinics, if it is, because like we talked about profit margins at your clinic, it's insane. Your profit margins are not normal of a typical PT practice, right?
Right, right. And it's because of what we charge and whatnot. Yeah, our profit margin around between 30 to 35%. And I think a big reason that a lot of clinics haven't scaled is because no, there's not, we're kind of, from my knowledge, we're the largest cash practice in the US. And so we're trying to kind of lead the charge on like, hey, how do you actually grow and scale a practice, a cash-based practice? Because
Yeah,
up until now, the whole coaching model has been like, oh, go do workshops at gyms, go network
yeah,
with in your community. That can only go so far. You have to be
yeah,
able to tap into SEO. You've got to be able to tap into paid advertising and tracking that code. And there's just not a whole lot of that's being taught and coached, in my opinion, to really grow and scale. It's more so just kind of how to create a lifestyle business.
yeah, yeah. I think you're bang on with the lifestyle businesses, right? Right?
Right.
I met some of these I've met some of these cash-based business coaches, and when I look at the clinics that they own, they're not very big.
No, they're not. And that's the thing too, is like there's like we coach people, and I tell, like, when they're hesitant, like they're considering like whether they should join our program or join somebody else's. I
Yeah,
tell them, hey, I don't know if ours is right for you. You have to figure out what your goal is. And
yeah,
my big thing is like, hey, are they coaching because they're actually making more in their coaching program than they are in their practice?
yeah,
For me, I do it more for just fun. It's kind of I do the coaching not for the money. I do it because it's fun and it's a change of pace. But my whole focus is still on my practice and growing.
yeah.
So I think it's important to make sure that you're investing in somebody that's still kind of in the ground on the groundwork with that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's super interesting, And so, and what are your thoughts? Do you think there's a model around like, having, these multi-million dollar cash practices, which is, a combination of let's just say cash. And I'm going to say out of network too, because out of network, you could bill, like, let's just assume you could bill and like it's just like a min work, like pay for the min, do that, right? And also um cash based like massage, LMTs, right? And
right,
then even adding that chiro arm. And the reason I say this, like, I've had the luxury of seeing, like thousands of like P&Ls like over the year, profit loss statements. And my favorite P&Ls, right, that I've seen that are the ones that do like about, I'm talking about single practice now, right? Like one location, doing about like 3 million of revenue a year, right? And it's pretty diversified. You got a million of PT, you got a million of chiro, you got a million of massage, right?
yep, yep.
Um, but when I look at California or Texas and I look at what's happening with a lot of the states, I'm not seeing that. Everyone's like still in their own little silos. You're going after the own little category. And you talked about SEO, but there's a whole new category of SEO just on massage.
Right,
There's a
right,
and there's equally just as much like new patients like searching for chiro, right?
right. Yep. And not only that, but it's also keeping people in your world, and you get those cross referrals within
Yes.
as well. Like that's why we added personal training
Yeah.
into our open location, is we want people feeling better. They want to make sure they stay pain free. And so they're
Yeah.
like, hey, I need to do strength training to be able to do that. I have no idea how to do that. So then they enroll a personal training. Maybe they fall off their bike. Well, then they come in and see a personal trainer and like, yeah, you need to go see a PT. All right, now they're back and reactivate. So you just get this cycle of keeping patients in your world that I think is important.
Yeah. Why don't you think more clinics do this then? Like the
Um,
massage, the chiro, like, the personal training, like even some of the other stuff like as well, right? With like lifestyle.
yeah, I think it's just unfamiliarity with they think that, oh, I'm a PT, so I can only hire PTs. Maybe that's some of the mindset around it. I'm not really
Right.
sure. I think one thing that is definitely a mindset of physical therapists in the US is we don't get taught a whole lot about a business in PT school. And we did a kind of interesting exercise. It's like one of the first classes we took in PT school, and it was about personality and what motivates people. And one thing that was across the board, and I've seen it, continue to see it with PTs, is they just want to help people and they just want to serve and they think they need to do all the serving and they don't have that, they haven't wrapped their minds around the business aspect of it. I just find that PTs don't have as much business acumen and motivation and background to do it. I think that's contributing to it. But yeah, I'm not really sure why it's not happening more. But if I had to say that, I think it's more personality of most PTs and why they get what type of people
And
they get.
everyone likes to kind of, yeah, it's everyone's still kind of like in their like silos, like it's time to break down these silos because, like the trend that I'm seeing is um, I see like when I look at all the bigger clinics, I see that are, building like I said, the 3 million bucks, $3 million. A lot of them are actually, um, a good chunk of them are actually owned by chiros that have
Mhm.
PTs billing it, right?
Yep. And guess what? Chiros get tons of business background in PT in their schooling. I think Chiros just also have that mentality and whatnot. So yeah, I'm not surprised that it's mainly Chiros that
Yeah.
are doing it. But yeah,
but
where you're
but as a but as a PT, and like I think that also needs to be flipped and reversed as well, right? I see massage therapists doing this. Like we got massage therapists in our community that are their physio and their chiro business is like equally as big as a massage business, right?
right. Yeah, why do you think it is? Why do you think it's that way?
I think it's the old mindset of PTs versus chiro.
I hear that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
versus like building a business based on what patients or clients want, right?
right, right.
If you look at like Google, like people like you look at the search volumes and what's trending, like people are searching these categories already. It's either you offer that service to them or they're going to go somewhere else, and I look at in our communities that, at Clinic Accelerate that like I look at the top clinics are doing really well with cross referrals, like they're getting like 67% cross referrals, right? So every single PT patient that's coming in, if you can convert 67% of that to include a plan of care that includes chiro, right? Or massage, a cash-based L&T massage, that's an extra like plan of care.
Right.
And
Your
that's a
lifetime.
fast way to jumpstart. And then it has nothing to do with you even just like, doing a lot of the online or, like online or offline marketing to promote that category, right? Of
Right.
chiropractic or massage therapy, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it goes to your lifetime value. It just skyrockets the amount that somebody's spending with you when you can offer another service on the back end.
Yeah.
That's been a great piece of us adding in personal training. We have some of our clients that are coming in for physical therapy that are spending more on personal training on the back end of things.
Wow. Wow.
So
What's your lifetime value right now for a typical PT patient?
typical PT patients right around 2,200. Um,
Okay. That's insane. That's a lot. That's like probably twice as much as normal, right?
yeah. Yeah.
And then how much does that include the personal training or the personal training is on top?
The person that's excluding the personal training. Yeah, that's
Okay.
just
And then how much more is the personal training like, on your call it your upsell, right?
yeah, our upsell, most people do. We have a couple different packages. We have like a 12 pack, 16 pack, and a 20 pack. Most people opt in for the 20 pack, which is
Yeah.
1/3 per session. So that's 2,600 bucks for
Okay.
personal. Again, this is something new that we've added, Rick, in the last just this
Okay.
last year. So we're still trying
Interesting.
to affect it. Our ascension rate isn't where I want it to be. It's where
Yeah.
we're working on. But yeah, when people do ascend, it's great. Our lifetime value for personal training is 2,600, and then our
Dude,
PP is at 22.
that's crazy, right? You know? And then what type of conversion rates are you seeing from PT to personal training? Is it like 10, 20%, or is it like,
Yeah, we're close to like 5 to 10. We should
okay.
be better on that. It's something new that we're really trying to perfect. It's also getting the
Yeah,
PTs on board. It's like teaching old dog new tricks. Like they've been set in their
yeah,
ways about things,
yeah,
and it's also
yeah,
incentivize them and whatnot. So
yeah,
it is turning in the direction, but it is lower than I'd like it to be. But I would love for it to get close to that 15-20%. Um,
yeah. Wow. Yeah. And have you considered like massage and chiro at your practices?
Yep, I've considered it. For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I really want to crack this personal training code.
Okay.
Maybe that's a
Yeah.
limited mindset on me. Like maybe, hey, why don't we try both at the same time? And
Yeah. So what would you say is like the top three ways to market to get these cash patients, right? That you've seen that's worked for your practice.
yeah, from particularly a lead generation standpoint,
Yeah.
Rick.
Yeah.
So our biggest one by and large is our website. We do a really good job of collecting Google reviews and Yelp reviews.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
California, Yelp is really big. Across the other parts of the US, Yelp is not.
Yeah.
We rank top 5 on both Google and Yelp in the entire Bay Area, not just Oakland, but the
Okay.
entire Bay Area. So we show our search engine optimization is great. We get a lot of
Yeah.
traffic, and our
Yeah.
website does a good job of converting people as well. We get about 10% opt-ins of
Yeah.
people. If you have 100 people visit our website, we have 10 of them opt in on average. And so that's
And an opt-in is someone that fills out like a form or that calls your clinic. Is that what we're calling an opt-in?
yep, they yep, either
Yeah.
call or form submission.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we were talking about that, like just maybe in Slack that like I think your form, when someone submit one of those like web forms, like, like that want to talk to someone in your clinic, you're converting at 65%, right? Which is insane. And your phones are only doing like maybe a half or so,
Yeah,
right?
our phones
Which is a completely flipped, because most clinics typically are converting on the phones at these 70, 80%, like call it 70%. And then these web forms typically like are 10% because like they get like, and these are the ones that don't get back and they get ghosted, right?
Yeah, and I thought about more of that our conversation, Rick, and I think
Yeah.
I know a better insight. This isn't the entire reason, but it's my thoughts on it. Is in a cash-based setting, people that are going to choose to invest in a cash service want the best. They want premium care. They want to be
Yeah.
working with the best, and they are going to do a little bit more research on who they work with.
Okay.
And so they're going to take the time to go through the website, look at the meet the team page, and then they submit the form. What we find is people that click on the call button, they're not, I've been looking at like our interactions. We installed something on our website so I can actually see people's behaviors on
Yeah.
our website. And the people that are just calling, they're just going to the website, barely scrolling, just clicking. So they're
Wow.
coming a lot less warm than the people that are taking the time, going through the meet the team page, our about page, learning more about our review page, stuff like that. So when people submit, they're much more warm because they've actually taken the time, because they care about their health and they want the best, versus somebody that's just visiting like, oh, I saw that they were at the top of the rankings. I'm just going to call them, and that's it.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It just boggles my mind because typically like you look at anywhere else, like typically it's because of the phone calls is what converts, like it's not these like web form opt-ins.
Right.
Yeah, it's insane. Whatever you're doing is totally working.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wish we get the phone calls up. If we get the phone calls up where you guys are at, we would be
Yeah.
really cool. So that's the next thing. But yeah, I
All
think
right.
that,
So Google reviews and Yelp, it sounds like you got this process, that really gets that going. So what else? What else is working? Like,
yeah, referrals. Referrals is probably our second most where we get new patients referrals, and then Facebook ads, paid
and what's
advertising.
what's what's referrals? Like referrals, not from docs, right?
No, we don't get a whole lot. Yeah, we don't get a whole lot of referrals. We do get more referrals from physicians than you would think. But
Really?
not nearly as like
Okay.
what you see with insurance.
Yeah.
Like
Because
probably
because doctors don't want to talk about money with their patients. It's
right.
just awkward, right?
They don't. It's actually more out of network or cash-based docs that are referring to us, and whatnot.
Cash-based doc. So cash-based PTs or cash-based docs?
Cash-based physicians.
Okay. Okay. So is that where the most of your referrals are coming from? Cash-based referrals? Oh, sorry, cash-based physicians.
Yeah, from referrals from other practitioners, yes, that was our highest.
Okay.
But what we get way more is of patients just referring their friends and family.
Okay.
Way more
Yeah,
than
word of mouth, like blah blah blah, right? So
something
okay,
for sure.
cool, cool, cool. And then you say Facebook ads, right? Right? Like, what do you mean by that? Are these like retargeting, like people who's already familiar with your brand, or is this going after like cold leads?
Yeah, these are going, well, it's mixed. We've been running Facebook ads to cold traffic
Yeah,
for about the last 3.5 years, almost four
yeah,
years. And it's for a discounted assessment. We say
okay,
like, hey, runners of San Diego,
yeah,
tired of knee pain when you run. We
yeah,
are offering we're offering an assessment that includes X, Y, and Z for only $49. It's typically $225. Claim your
yeah,
voucher now. Have 10
yeah,
left. It
yeah,
expires at that month. So you get that scarcity and urgency. They opt in, we call them.
yeah,
The
okay,
lead quality there is much lower than our website for sure,
yeah,
but it does a
yeah.
great job kind of filling in the gaps. Rather have that an opportunity to fill in those gaps on our schedule than have them leave blank as well. So it's a good filler.
Yeah, and then what's the best campaigns that have you seen? Is it the running ones, or with these like $49 like teasers? Like what seems to work, or is it like checklists, or like some of your ebooks, or like the webinars? Like what seems to be working?
It's a direct offer to an assessment is what we see work
Yeah,
best. And the avatars that work best, we've tested low back pain, we've tested hip, we've tested knee, we've
yeah,
tested shoulder, we've tested runners, golfers, CrossFitters. The two things that perform the best is both as runners and people, gym goers with shoulder pain. So we
okay,
always run the campaigns. The lead quality on shoulders tends to be a little bit lower.
yeah,
Runners with better lead quality, but your cost per lead goes up. So
yeah,
the ROI across the two is very similar. But
yeah.
you're just
What's your cost per lead?
our cost per lead is around 95 bucks
Who
with it.
cares if you're getting 2,200?
Yeah,
Just keep on spending, right?
exactly.
Especially with your 2,600 like upsell at the end, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And then what about warm traffic? Do you spend has that been effective? Like, so this is retargeting patients who's already like, like the 90% who go to your website that actually don't do anything, or maybe like they looked at some of your stuff like on Instagram and Facebook, but they haven't done anything as well, right?
Yeah, that's something we just started doing the last 6 months with Facebook
Okay.
ads is targeting warm traffic.
Okay.
And working on getting we ran it and realized our tracking is not set up where it needs to be. So we're working out the kinks with the tech on the back end with like UTM's unique tracking. Was it
Okay.
unique something? But anyways, long story short, our track needs to be better. But we haven't been able to track as well as we want with it. But we're working on that. But that's something new that we started working on, Rick. But
Yeah.
no cost to doing.
Yeah, my thoughts is like that's low hanging fruit. Like that should perform way better than your cold traffic because they're already familiar with your brand. This is like that 90% of the people who've been on your website who didn't do anything. They didn't opt in, right?
Exactly. What for when you do retargeting like that, what are some of the things that you're retargeting them with? Like what we're doing right now is we are like giving them social proof, like
Yeah,
reviews. We're
yeah,
also directing them to like blogs, like of
yeah,
common, like, oh, I just want to rest it and see what happens.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
addressing those common objections, but I don't know if that's the right mode to go about things. What are some retargeting that you guys do?
I
Right.
think the data will tell you what that is, but typically, what we've been telling, what works for us and the clients that do it really well is, like taking some of like your best organic like posts that did well on Instagram, right? Because it's validated that it's working. Like, like the engagement good. And typically it's going to be Instagram reel, right? It's not going to be something that is like a photo stock and it's like very static and corporate, but it's actually an Instagram reel of something, right? You know, and then when you retarget that, and you make it an ad and then you just change the copy so that it's about like booking your appointment with your $49 like runner offer. Like, now like you imagine someone scrolling their phones now, like they actually think they're watching an Instagram reel, not some type of advertisement.
I like that. That's
So,
smart.
so the impressions and the click through rates are insane, right? Does that kind of make sense, Ben? Yeah, that's like a wicked hack that we've been doing,
Oh,
right?
gonna go and do that after this podcast and see if we can get something else launched with it. So
All right. And then the second one is for the people who are thinking of doing like, that struggle with recruitment, which is the same thing too, right?
But
Is that like you could use the exact same formula to retarget your best clinic culture Instagram reel, right?
I like that.
And then target, once again, the warm traffic who's already been to your website. And these are like, the people that maybe thought of applying, working with you, or you could go cold and go after like that. But the whole formula and the secret at the end of the day is like use something that has performed well organically and then dump money. Don't test it with like, paid ads without having some type of validation with some of your free shit.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
saw you guys release something about recruitment and how a big key piece of that is these applicants for people that are interested in you and applying are going to go check out your Instagram page. And if you can
Yeah.
show staff having a good time and being happy, they want to be a part of that culture. And so I thought
Yeah.
that was genius.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, it's this who it's like the whole Gen Z millennial, like this is how they purchase, like make like important decisions, right? So why stop that?
Right. We got to
So
adapt.
what's that?
We
Yeah.
got to
Yeah.
adapt to preferred mode.
Well, it's not only adapting for recruitment, but also like, like you're young, you're still gonna be owning your business for the next 10, 20 years. You're also nurturing the next generation of like these Gen Z like patients that in the
Sure.
next 5, 6 years, right? They may not be using Google reviews and Yelp and go to your website. They're going to be making all their interactions through like Instagram and TikTok, right?
Right.
Like, a good example is like when I'm in Spain right now. I've been there for the last like 2 months. Like so when me and my wife go travel and we go to a new destination, like I'm searching for like restaurants. Yeah, I'm looking at Google reviews. Like I'm looking at all the ones that have the highest amount of reviews. Like, like I'm probably your typical customer event.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
looking at the highest reviews and I just skim through it. You know what? That's enough social proof for me to click the call, right?
Yep.
My wife acts like a Gen Z. She goes on Instagram and she starts looking at what other like influencers are doing and like searching the hashtags like on like best restaurants in Seville, and then she's just watching reels and she's making her decision this way,
Yeah, that's
which
interesting.
is like which I'm like, this is insane, like this is so not effective, but this is like the world they live in now, right?
Yeah, at least you balance each other out, right?
So yeah, hey, last question. These like when someone calls your clinic, okay, and and they're calling your clinic and how do you convert them from insurance to cash?
Question.
Is
So,
that is that even possible? Because like they're already coming in like not wanting to pay, right? Or pay very little, right?
yep. So there's always going to be people that tell you no. We convert around 65 to 70% of leads that we get on the phone with across.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And so
Okay.
the big thing is they come in so warm because they see so many of our reviews and whatnot.
Okay.
So if clinic, the big thing is like patients when they a lot of patients like will call back, hey, do you take my insurance? Right.
Yeah.
Yes, they somewhat maybe care about they take your insurance to a certain extent, but the big thing is they also want to just know mainly, am I going to have to pay it completely out of pocket for this? And the thing
Yeah.
is not everybody pays 100% out of pocket. We see some insurance get good reimbursement on the back end. So we
Yeah.
say, like, hey, we're all of our patients do have insurance and see some reimbursement. We want to make sure that we can absolutely help and before getting you scheduled or anything like that. Tell me about what's going on. So we really get
Okay.
to, you call a lot of other clinics that take insurance in the Bay Area. They call, hey, what's your name, date of birth, insurance? Like that's
Yeah.
all they care. Not like, hey, can I actually help you? So we
Yeah.
really spend at least 15, 20 minutes with each prospective lead to learn more about what's going on. Hey, how long has this been going on for? What have you
Yeah.
tried? What have you not tried? What's worked? What hasn't worked? What are your goals? Right. So, because anybody can get physical therapy anywhere. We're not selling
Sure.
physical therapy. We're selling an outcome. So we really
Yeah.
try and do that, reveal what is the outcome that they want to get, and then sell them on that outcome, not on physical therapy, because that's exactly what the other clinic is doing is selling on physical therapy. That clinic's not asking enough questions to learn about what their actual why is and what their
Yeah.
goal is. Hey, my goal is to be
Wow.
able to get back to playing with my kid in the backyard and play catch because that's something that's really valuable to me because I didn't get to do that with my dad when I was growing up. And I don't want my son to miss out on that as well. I've got a wedding coming up in 6 months and I need to lose weight and I've gained 20 pounds because of my knee injury. I want to be able
Yeah.
to fix the injury so I can fit my wedding dress.
Yeah.
Other clinics are asking in-depth enough questions to get to that point. Now we offer that as a solution, those bigger solutions than just physical therapy. Then it switches flips a switch in their head, and we're now offering something that no other clinic is.
Yeah. Then you talk about pricing and
Talk about
cash,
pricing.
right?
How you build as
But
much value as possibly can, and then you talk about
yeah.
price.
So it takes you on average 15 minutes to convert a call then, right? Whereas in a typical transactional, I call it transactional PT clinic is probably like 5 minutes, right?
Exactly. And we have higher administrative costs because I've hired a doctor of physical therapy to do those phone calls. He's remote. He doesn't treat patients. He just does these phone calls throughout the entire week. And
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, but they're not live calls, they're scheduled calls, right? Or are they live
but
calls or
they're
inbound
live
calls?
calls, they're live calls and scheduled calls. Any lead, he's taking care of. He's taking care of it.
Okay. Okay. Oh,
Yep.
wow. So like he's just at home and it rings and he starts like, it's like like the little call center.
Yep, exactly. It's like a call center. And we used to have a front desk, a general administrative front desk staff
Yeah.
do it. And they
Yeah.
converted well, and they
Yeah.
would follow the script and do everything to a T. But because this other physical therapist has he can say, hey, this is Dr. John with Pro+Kinetix. He has an authority behind that. And when
Oh,
he
yeah.
recommends that they come in, they're gonna more likely come in than they're talking to, somebody that doesn't have their doctor in physical therapy or is just kind of more administrative staff. There's more weight
Dude,
behind it.
Dude, this is amazing. How many cash practices do this? I don't think so. I think most people just hire like some like front desk admin, and try to educate them, and their conversions probably show for that, right?
Exactly. From my knowledge, we're the only one that
Yeah,
does this. There are some clinics that obviously that are the lifestyle ones where they are doing the phone calls, they're doing treating patients, they're doing the phone
yeah,
calls, but at scale, from my knowledge,
yeah,
everybody else time just does more administrative, general administrative. But that's why we
yeah,
scale, in my opinion. If I could pick
yeah,
one thing on why we scaled to where we have, where nobody else
yeah,
has, it's because of that of our sales process and because we have a doctor of physical therapy doing those phone calls and doing a
yeah,
very good job on the sales aspect of it.
yeah. Wow, cool. And then what's next for Ben? Like, how many are you looking to scale? Like, the amount of clinics you have right now, Ben? Like, what's next for Ben?
Good question. I'm going to stick with these three locations and really just maximize them. There's so much growth potential within these three locations that we haven't
Yeah,
tapped into. So I'm really going to
yeah,
focus on. I've still also really focused on getting my time back even further.
yeah,
I don't treat anymore. I haven't treated for 2.5, 3 years. But there's still things I have to do from managing employees and stuff that I'm trying to work, which you've been helping me out with, which has been great.
yeah,
And changing that mindset. So my main goal is to work myself even further out of the practice. I've been investing in real estate on the side and really want to get my money to start working for me from the profits that are coming in from the business. So started kind of
yeah.
turning on that as well. And then also the business coaching too.
Yeah, I actually like this mindset that you have, and I wish like more business owners do that, is that they use their business as a vehicle, right? To help them generate cash, like passive cash flow, right? Right? And to do the things that they love, and to buy back their time,
Exactly. Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know? And so you do in real estate and maybe some of this other like stuff that kind of lights your bubble, like it's amazing, right? And but using the cash off your business, to reinvest,
Yeah. And I think that's something that doesn't get talked enough about in the coaching space is like, hey, yeah, we've helped you, scale and grow a business, but now what do
Yeah,
you do with the profits and
yeah,
whatnot? So I think
yeah,
that's important that we need to start doing in the industry, talk more about like, hey, yeah, you've got a successful business. Now what do you do with the profits and how to make that money
yeah,
work?
yeah. But yeah, and I just want to say like, your clinic making these type of margins, like like whatever you're doing, you're crushing it. Like I don't think a lot of clinics are kind of in your spot right now. And so that's where you have these conversations. That's where we can have these conversations about reinvesting like your income. You got to start making like cash out of your business first, right? So
Exactly. I think that's a
yeah,
big piece too. Sometimes people turn to I need to invest or start in real estate. They get into it too
yeah,
soon. You need to be
yeah,
focused on business so you have more capital to invest, in my opinion.
yeah. What's your thoughts about owning the real estate in the clinics that you have?
I think it's great. We haven't done it yet, but it's
Okay.
something that I'm thinking about doing actually. So yeah,
Yeah, like yeah, and like why not? Like if you're gonna be there if you're gonna get a lease for the next 10 years or 15 years, right? Or be in that space, right?
well,
Right?
well, well,
Just makes sense, right? So cool. Awesome. Ben, thanks for coming on the show. And how do people find out more about you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, Dr. Ben Bagge. You can also check our website, pro+kinetixrehab.com as well.
Yeah.
So those are two best places to find me, but probably Instagram, Dr. Ben Bagge, Bagge, is probably the best place.
All right. Thanks for coming on the show, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's an honor to be on here, Rick. You know, I've been following your stuff for a long time and listening to your podcast. So it's an honor to be on here, and I appreciate everything you've been doing for the physical therapy industry. And I know I wouldn't be where I'm at without some of your help too. So I appreciate you.
That's awesome.